آل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. أما بعد, respected scholars, elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The topic in question tonight seeks to help each and every one of us, whether it be the person it's applying for in a direct manner or in an indirect manner, whether you are the person that will be talked about tonight or the parent of the person that we inshallah will talk about tonight, in light of the topic of marriage. Inshallah tonight, as per request, the concept that we want to talk about is how to choose a spouse in detail, because the marriage topic is very vast. We can look at the lives of the imams and how to apply it to our life. We can look into the aspect of mahar and how it has an impact on everyday life, how it has an impact on your direct life and even in the hereafter. We can look at how it will affect you in the hereafter, how your spouses and how they're being trained and how their actions will affect you even in your grave. However, for tonight, inshaAllah, we'd like to focus on three different aspects. The first is the importance of the topic of marriage. What does the school of Ahlul Bayt say in this particular topic, in retrospect and in reference to the other schools of thought? Number one. Number two, is there such a thing as nasib? As in this one person that Allah has already dictated and predestined that you shall marry and no one else? The third is there such thing as love at first sight? And inshallah, on a concluding note, we'll talk about what are the guidelines that the imams teach us to choosing a spouse, and what are their opinions on interracial marriage. So to start off, the first of your loudest salawat in the greatest man that's ever walked this earth, Al-Habib al-Mustafa Muhammad. The second, in honor of the Lady of Light, Al-Batul al-Zahra Fatimah. And the third, in honor of Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman al-Hujjat al-Muntadhar al-Mahdi. Firstly, what does the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt say in reference to marriage? And what does the other schools of thoughts have in reference to marriage? As we know, the level of marriage and its importance is known within religion, so far as to say that Allah has given it such a rank that when someone is married, it's as if, what does the Prophet say? He has completed half of his faith. So imagine the trials and tribulations that you have to go through, the responsibilities, the way it will ethically, morally, physically uphold your particular character, in which it will test you that Allah says that this is in reference to half of your religion. Therefore, you can only do what? Once you are married, with its complete ethics and characteristics, upholding that particular part, that's half your religion. Therefore, you have to fear God in the other half. That's the first context. Now let's look at the Prophet of Islam. He has said in reference to marriage as it's the most beloved faculty. Now when the Prophet of Islam says it's the most beloved faculty, surely the Prophet of Islam will make a faculty which is beloved easy to go into, is it not? On the reverse side, he says one of the worst faculties is the faculty of divorce. So therefore, when we look at it on an intellectual level, don't worry about Islam at the moment. Intellectually, if something is good, it should be abundant. It should be easy to go towards. If something is haram, it should be very hard. If something is hated, it should have restrictions on it within Islam. Therefore, when we look at the other schools of thought, what do they say about marriage? Marriage has particular trials and tribulations, particularly in the aspect of the marriage contract. In the schools of thought, it says what? That you have to have the approval of either father, you have to have in the marriage concept, you have to have two people to bear witness to a marriage. And these two people have to have particular restrictions on them. In the school of thought of Ahl al-Bayt, what does it say? It says that you do not need these two people as a guideline to get married. All you need is the permission of the father of that particular female. And therefore you can read that contract and you are married. On the reverse side, in divorce, what do we see? It's a hated faculty. The Prophet has many narrations. If you go and look into the books, many narrations on what a person will go through if he has divorced unlawfully, if he has divorced in a wrong manner, if he has oppressed that particular person in a divorce. Go and read. But what do we find? We find that divorce is very hated by the Prophet. Let's look at the schools of thought. Some schools of thought say what? They say if you but utter the word in a wrong manner. Let's say, for example, the word is talaq. Let's say, for instance, one day he has a lisp or a problem pronouncing that particular day. He says, instead of saying talaq, as in I'm going outside, he says talaq. The school of thought says you've automatically divorced your wife. You have no second thought about it. That's one school of thought. Do you believe another school of thought says what? That if you have an intention, just it came across your head, an intention to divorce your wife, your wife is therefore haram on you. That's it. You cannot even go near her anymore because you thought about the concept of divorce. What does the school of thought of Ahl al-Bayt say? It says that not only is it very hard to be divorced, you cannot divorce a lady in the emotional time that she goes through. This particular period when a female is in emotional state. Therefore, Islam is saying that we analyze this, we bear witness to this. Therefore, putting into perspective, they are emotional at that time. If they do anything in that particular time, you cannot divorce them then and there. Furthermore, there is restrictions on divorce. In marriage, you don't need witnesses. In divorce, you do. Therefore, the school of thought of Ahl al-Bayt does what? It puts ease to the concept of marriage and hardship to the concept of divorce. That's the first faculty. Number two, what do you want to look at? The concept of nasib. Because many people come forth and say what? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is not the ideology of Ahl al-Bayt. The other schools of thought say what? Say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once He has created you, or once He has brought you in this life, He has predestined two things. What are they? The first of which He states that whoever you shall marry is already predestined. And the date in which you die is already predestined. Or whatever that you do, you cannot change these two particular aspects. Whereas yesterday, what did we talk about? We talked about free will versus predestination. There is two types of lawh. The lawh when no one touches, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. And the other one is what? Al-mahu wal-ithbat, didn't we? Therefore, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam states, تَخَيَّرُوا لِنَطَفِكُمْ, what does he say? He says, choose for your spouses, does he not? He says, choose. Therefore, if Allah has predestined or predetermined a spouse for you, would the Prophet of Islam come and say you are allowed a choice? Make sure you choose correctly, and gives us guidelines that we'll go through now. That he says this is the guidelines in which your choice should be made. This is the guidelines in which your choice should be accepted or refused. Therefore, there wouldn't be a choice if there was such a concept called qisma an-nasib. There wouldn't be if Allah has already predestined someone for you. Point 3. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? Now we go also to the Western cultures, in the movies, in the magazines. You find this word reiterated again and again. In reference to someone's fashion sense, in reference to someone's beauty, or what he's wearing. They say love at first sight, towards beauty, whatever it may be. Is there such a thing as love at first sight? That you can be in utmost emotional attachment with a person based on their first physical appearance. This one we need to focus on. An ayatollah I've heard say what? That the first look you have towards, whether it be a girl or a girl towards a boy, is it love or is it lust? Put that into perspective. Is the first look you have love or lust? The first look you have towards someone that you do not know, you have not come across, you have not crossed paths with. Is that true love? This particular ayatullah says no. It says that first look in which you see them, you like a particular way they look. You like a particular way their body structure is. They like a particular way you look. They like a particular way your body structure is. That look is not love, brothers and sisters. That look is the look that Islam says you're only allowed to look once. You're only allowed to look once. Therefore we find that, what does the Rasul say about love? What does the Imam say about love? They say love is an emotional attachment that happens what? After marriage. What is this emotional attachment? This attachment comprises of what? Memories that you have created together, that have intertwined your relationship, stuff that have tasted your relationship, that you can say that, well, I know this person and how they act, and I love the way this person is, because I have shared memories until now. I know those memories have created an emotional attachment so strong that you may call it love. The emotional attachment is called mawaddah in Arabic, if you want to put it into context or in perspective. Therefore, in that particular sense, we can't come forth with the idea that there is love. Now there's someone that came forth and said, well, Sayyid, what if you know this person before marriage? What if you had this relationship with this person before marriage? What if you've spent time with this person before marriage? Now the question is that arises, was this relationship in a halal means or was it in a haram means? As in, if you're not married, if you're not halal for one another, and you've spent that much time that you can say, well, I love this person to the utmost. The one that says, I love this person, I can't stay a day without you, mother or father, going and asking for her hand. Mother and father, I love them so much that I need you to go and make that phone call now. This first look, now we can derive that what? It's lust, not love. Love is created after marriage. The third concept, what are the guidelines that Ahlul Bayt have given us in order for us to abide by? They say that people can be married for 4 different reasons, or many reasons that can be categorized in these main 4. What are these main 4? The first of which the Prophet of Islam states that you marry a person because of his wealth. Solely for his wealth. Because someone may come forth and say, well, what if he's religious and he's wealthy? Is there a problem? Well, that's a bonus. But let's look at it, if you mainly marry him for the reason of what? Of wealth. The Prophet says if you marry solely for the wealth, solely for this person having a particular bank balance, a particular car, a particular amount of land, he says that be sure if you marry for wealth, that wealth will not be blessed. Now whether it means it will diminish, whether it means that he won't give you any, whether it means it will not have barakah, you will not see its rewards. There are many meanings for not blessed, isn't it? Now furthermore, if you go towards that which a person is wealthy and not religious, the 2 extremes. If you go towards someone that's wealthy, not religious, who is to say he would even look at you? He would even have those conversations that would bring you closer to Allah. You would have that relationship that you can bring forth your sons and your daughters on the path of Ahlul Bayt. There is no relationship there. Now this is the stereotype that's given. Number 1. Number 2, he says if you marry for lineage. What does lineage mean? It means, well, if someone comes and he is the son of such and such high-ranked person in the community. If he's the son of this particular, he's got 3 stars in a particular rank in the army, or a particular rank in a company. Did you know he's the son of such and such? Of course I'm going to marry him. Of course I'm going to say yes. If this person ever comes to me, I will definitely agree. Based on what? Not his religion. Based on what? Based on his lineage and his placement. The number 2. The verse that comes into place, the narration that comes into place is what? It says that lineage that you marry to, it will not continue. 1, number 2. Either it will continue, it will not be blessed. Now the blessing in this particular aspect is what? Is that they can carry your name with their heads raised high. Not being blessed means what? means they cannot carry your name with their heads held high. Now you can translate that as you wish. Number 3, what is the third aspect that someone may be married for? And this is the most common aspect that people marry for. And that's the aspect of beauty. That's the aspect of beauty. That's when you see someone, you're thinking to yourself, I better go and ask for a hand before anyone else does. Or a sister says, if this person ever comes and asks for my hand, without a shadow of doubt, I'd say yes. Look how amazingly attractive he is. That's the third idea. Now let's look at this particular faculty. The faculty of beauty in dictating your marriage sense, your marriage counseling. The faculty of beauty, how long will it last? Let's say a year, 2 years, 3 years at most. If someone kills themselves, takes care of themselves, let's say 10 years. They keep the same amount of beauty. They'll begin to age. They'll begin to freckle. They'll begin to wrinkle. You'll begin to see that same person you married obviously will age through time. That beauty will diminish. When you marry for beauty, you know very well that the Prophet said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not allow them to be beautiful in your eyes. What is one of the concepts that can be taken into account now? Let's say someone is beautiful in the streets. You don't marry them or anything. You don't go and know them as a friend. You found someone in the streets, in the university place, at school that's absolutely beautiful. You can't stop looking at them. And how many people do we know in this aspect that are beautiful, but let's hear the first words that come out of their mouth. You begin to think, how on earth did I even think this person is beautiful in the first place? When they begin to talk, you think, what fool would even think about being with this person? And we see this nowadays. You find that these kind of people, if they marry for this reason of beauty and their character, their moral standings, are not that of Ahlul Bayt, are not that of a moral stance. Let's not look at Ahlul Bayt. Let's look at the moral stage. If they are cursing, if they are untrustworthy, if you can't even go to the end of the street with them without them starting trouble, what kind of life will you live if your basis is beauty and not the character? And all of these particular ideologies have depths of studies. I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg. There's many aspects that can actually relate to you after you die. The way that you have chosen your children to be brought up. Because when you choose a mother for your child, or when you choose a father for your child, you will be accountable for that choice to say, what did you choose it based on? Because when your son grows up, or when your daughter grows up, and you begin to see bad traits about her, it's either what? It's either from the mother or from the father at a young age. Then environmental factors will have an effect later on in their life. But however, they're in their essence. They either get their genes from their mother or their fathers. تَخَيَّرُوا لِنَطَفِكُمْ فَإِنَّ الْعُرْقَ تَسَّاسِ. Choose wisely. Now what is the fourth faculty that the Prophet of Islam says, choose this? He says, make the choice based on religion and character. من رضيتم خلقه وخلقه أو خلقه for what? فزوجوه. Marry them. If you are happy with their character and their stance, then what? Marry them. Why? Why is it that I should trust a religious person over that which is wealthy? Over that which is from a good lineage? Over that where people are beautiful? Why is it? Because the Prophet of Islam says, I guarantee if you choose in reference to religion, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you the other three faculties. How? He says if you marry a person for religion, if it's beauty that you seek, Allah will allow them to be beautiful in your eyes. When you go to the story of, what was it? Antar and Layla and Majnoon? Do you have that story? Layla wa Majnoon, we have that story. Go look into that particular story. Layla wasn't even beautiful. Look into the story. Layla wasn't beautiful. Layla was a normal person, but this guy was absolutely in love, in blind love with this person. So surely if someone is in religion and religiously bound to Allah, They don't necessarily have to be the most beautiful of ladies in order for you to see the beauty within her. When you see that she prays, when you see how she will bring your children up, when you see the character she is, that she is trustworthy, that is another sense of beauty that's not on an absolute physical barrier level. It's an inner level, and that's the importance, because that's where your souls can actually intertwine. That's the concept there. What's the second faculty? Allah says, I will give you all three. He says, because you have married, because of religion, because of Allah, Allah will allow your lineage to be that which will be lifting your head in the community. The lineage, your lineage, because of this marriage, will continue. It says on a third level, Allah will bless you with sustenance. Now, whether it be the sustenance of what we think is materialistic, or whether the sustenance is health, whether the sustenance is having a good name, whether the sustenance and the rizq is to have enough so you may worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will grant you all three if you get a person, or if you choose a person based on his religion. What's another reason why we should choose someone for religious purposes over the other three faculties? The fifth Imam has a beautiful statement. He says, إِذْ أَحَبَّهَا, if he begins to like her, if he begins to love her, if he begins to create that emotional attachment, he says, فَأَكْرَمَهَا, he will honor her. On the reverse side, she will honor him. If she begins to have or develop that emotional attachment, if she is religious, if he is religious, he will honor her. Now you know what honor means, brothers and sisters. Honor is what Ali ibn Abi Talib had with Fatima al-Zahra. Honoring each other. Now if he doesn't like her, if he doesn't begin to have these emotional attachments, if she doesn't have the emotional attachments to him, what then? Does it have an indirect aspect towards the lady or towards the man? The Imam says no. He says if he does not like her, فَمَا يُظْلِمْهَا. Why? He says if he doesn't find her attractive or begin to love her, he will surely not oppress her. How many people do we see nowadays that they have money, they have the best lineages, they are the most beautiful of people, but they don't have morals, they don't have standards which comply with the Islamic understanding. Therefore you see this lady that you married for this particular person, or this person that you married to this lady, the next day or every single day does what? Comes and knocks at your door. Well, I've had an argument on the smallest of things. I cannot bear to live with this man. He doesn't have morals, doesn't have etiquette, doesn't have ethics. Why is it that I should even marry him why have I married him in the first place? He says, well, you thought once upon a time that he was amazingly attractive. We warned you. You chose not to obey us. Therefore, you have to live with it, as they say. And the hardest faculty is that of marriage. Sorry, the hardest faculty is divorce, as the Prophet says. The easiest should be marriage. Now, if we take that into perspective, we've understood that the first and foremost, you should not marry solely because of beauty. You should not marry solely because of lineage. You should not marry solely because of the money of someone. You should marry because of a religion, a person's character. Because Allah will give you the other three. Now, let's look at another aspect. Because we're running short of time, I was going to look at mahar. But let's look at interracial marriage. Because I was asked this particular topic in reference to interracial marriage. What does interracial marriage mean? Basically, to put it in a nutshell, let's say someone from Iraq marries that of someone from Lebanon. Or from Lebanon marries from someone from Iraq. Or vice versa, or any other culture you can put into perspective. What's the problems that arise? You find people that are first in line in the mosque and approve of this concept. They say, yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly stated in the Quran. What does he state? He says, إِنَّا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ وَأُنْثَى وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلْ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. What does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala state in the Quran? He says, we have created you from man and woman, or male and female, And what? He says that we have created you in tribes and villages. So what? So that you may begin to intermingle and know one another. لِتَعَارَفُوا. Then he says what? This is the statement I want to point out. إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. What does that mean? The best amongst you are the most what? God-fearing, God-weary, the pious. This is what it means. Now where does it say the best amongst you are the Iraqis? Where does it say the best amongst you are the Lebanese? It says the best amongst you are the most pious, the most God-fearing. Now when someone comes and asks for someone's hand, let's say a brother that's from a Lebanese background, comes and asks for a lady that's from an Iraqi descent, straight away the father that first and foremost in the majalis has said, I approve because of a religion, because of a religious aspect you should marry a person. He is the first person to come and say what? Well, I don't approve of this because he's from a different culture. And we see this is a catastrophe in nowadays. They find a person with an utmost level of religion coming and asking for his daughter's hand. However, he refuses. That same person won't come again. Imam Ali has a beautiful statement. He says, grasp on to your opportunities because they pass you as the clouds passes you on every single day. The opportunities may come only once, brothers and sisters. That's why you have to grasp and base it on religion. Furthermore, there's people that say what? Not only do they have to be Iraq to Iraq or Lebanese to Lebanese, they have to be from the same city. The same turn from a particular roundabout in a particular area. If he doesn't live around that area, we don't even think about him. And that's a tragedy nowadays. I'm not saying everyone, but I'm saying there are the minority that we have to try to influence otherwise. Because they have an impact on the girls in society. The girls, they have an impact on the guys on society. And they go elsewhere. And their nasib will not come again like that they came at the first time. Now this is an aspect. What does the imams teach us? And the Sayyid has entered, inshallah. I'll conclude my speech for tonight by saying this. Look at the lives of the imams. There is a reason why they try to teach us that you have to intermarry from different cultures. Look at Imam al-Hussein. Imam Zayn al-Abidin's mother from what descent? From a Persian descent. And we find in the imams, many of which married who? People from Morocco. Even Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, when you look at his mother, she was a Roman princess. Nowadays, modern days, we can say she's Italian. The mother of your imam is a Roman princess. When someone comes forth and I want to say that I want to marry from another culture, and you say no because she is not from this culture or he's from not that culture, then you are becoming racist in that manner, is it not? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, the best amongst you are the ones that fear Allah the most, are the most pious. Doesn't put a particular culture or a race amongst others. Inshallah, we end on this particular line, brothers and sisters. I know it's a very heavy topic to grasp. It's very contradictory in a manner because we have brought up in a cultural perspective. But we must remember that it must not overcome the religion of Islam. When Islam comes into place, if its teaching collide with that of culture, Islam will surely have to be on top. And that's the concept we have to have in the back of our minds before anything happens. Inshallah, we can put this into account. We end on this, brothers and sisters, inshallah. We can apply it into our lives. We end on this. Please help me in reciting Al-Fatiha, but before it, 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.